up, Raider Nation? Happy College Radio Day to all of you. I appreciate you hanging out with us here all day long and appreciate you supporting WWSU and college radio across the country. I'm excited to be joined now by two station alums and the co-hosts of the Justin Kinner Show on 1410 Wing AM. Justin Kinner and Kev Nash, thank you so much, both of you, for your time, and how are you?
Good, man. I'm really good.
I was like, who's going to go first? But both doing good.
Awesome. Well, I know we're going to obviously touch on your experiences here at WWSU and how college radio kind of shaped what you do now a little bit later. But I want to start off, obviously, a unique situation here where we've got a Bengals fan, a Browns fan, and a Steelers fan. So we'll see how that goes. But the Bengals are in action on Thursday Night Football at the time of doing this. And the Bengals, I'm not going to lie, from a Bengals fan's perspective, they have been a decently pleasant surprise. I think that they're not as bad as I was expecting. What are both of your thoughts so far on the Bengals through 3 games?
Well, for me, considering I'm a Pittsburgh Steelers fan and y'all just came to Heinz Field and whooped our butt, I'm pretty impressed. I'm pretty impressed by the money that they spent on the defense, and it looks like that money was spent very well because they're playing pretty good on defense and everything like that. You know, they slowed down a high-power offense in week 1 and got the win over the Vikings. I know that, you know, Cousins threw for a lot of yards, and that's what he does. He throws for a lot of yards, but he doesn't win a lot of games. And they also shut down one of the best running backs in the league, Dalvin Cook, and forced that fumble in overtime to get that victory. Obviously, things didn't go their way in week 2 versus the Bears and everything like that. That stifling defense really shut them down, and Joe Burrow threw 3 interceptions. But then Joe Burrow turned it around against what we all believe is a great defense in the Pittsburgh Steelers and threw 3 touchdown passes. And, you know, the Bengals defense totally shut down terrible offensive line in the Pittsburgh Steelers and making my Hall of Fame quarterback look like it's me out there throwing the football.
Now, look, the Bengals, they're doing what they're supposed to. They beat the Vikings in week 1, which that's a good quality opponent to open up with, especially when you talk about trying to get an idea of what that defense is going to look like. You're right. They did put all that money into that defense, and they were tested right off the bat. You know, you had Kirk Cousins, who you know is going to sling it. You know, athletes all over the field. Dalvin Cook's fantastic, of course. They have the weapons with Thielen and Jefferson. They took care of business. And then they followed it up with a loss to the Bears. Look, I can poke fun at the Bengals all I want, but they should not have lost to the Bears. They are better than the Bears. And the Bengals, as much as it pains me, I don't say this between 3 and 6, but they're better than I thought coming in. But at this point tomorrow, right? Yeah, but by the time this airs tomorrow, the Bengals could end up losing to Jacksonville, and then I'll have to have egg all on my face. It would be the typical Bengals thing to do, to lose to Jacksonville here tonight. And I'm so bummed that we don't have a show tomorrow, because when they lose to Jacksonville tonight, I'm not going to have a show tomorrow to poke fun at it, I tell you.
Yeah, no, I mean, I thought the exact same thing. I'm like, that'd be the most Bengals thing ever to finally, get that monkey off their back, go to Pines Field, look good against the Steelers, and then come home and lose to Urban Meyer and the Jacksonville Jaguars, because that is the most Bengals thing I could imagine. But I'm glad you brought up the resources and the investments that they put into that defense, because I think that's really been the game changer. They added Von Bell last year. I think Trey Waynes is actually supposed to play his first game as a Bengal tonight after 21 consecutive games missed or whatever. But this past year, I thought Trey Hendrickson at the time was a downgrade over Carl Lawson. Carl Lawson's a really good edge rusher, and it's unfortunate that he got hurt. But Trey Hendrickson's been great at getting pressures. Chidobe Awuzie has been a very nice surprise. I thought that was a pretty big drop from William Jackson. So far, it has not been. And Larry Ogunjobi has been maybe the nicest surprise of all, where the Bengals already had Hubbard and Reeder and then went out and got Hendrickson. Ogunjobi was supposed to be kind of a depth rotational piece, and now the Bengals are probably having to worry about extending him now because he's played so well that you might lose him to more money in the offseason. So I think for the first time in my life, it looks like they had a really good, they hit home runs on all their signings, which is not what the Bengals do.
Bunts for singles, Shea. Bunts for singles. Let's be clear here. They beat the Vikings in week 1, but their defense still gave up 350 yards to Kirk Cousins. Since then, they have played Andy Dalton / Justin Fields with no offensive line. And they played a 80-year-old Ben Roethlisberger who doesn't have any protection either. And then they're going to play a rookie quarterback tonight with a weak offensive line. Look, I know it's a hater thing to do to try to point at the negative, but I believe there's going to be a false sense of identity crisis. There's going to be a false sense of identity here after tonight. I do think they beat the Jaguars, but if they beat the Jaguars, there's going to be a lot of chest pumping, there's going to be a lot of smack talk, and there's going to be a lot of Kinner saying, Andy Dalton, Justin Fields, Ben Roethlisberger with that offensive line, rookie quarterback Trevor Lawrence. Like, don't worry, I got it all taken care of. I'm prepared.
Yeah, no.
Happen.
Well, I'm with you. I said before the season, and it's been nice to see them play decent football for once, but I still think the ceiling on this team is 8 or 9 wins. I don't think they're nowhere near the Browns. I still think they're a good step or two behind the Ravens. I think if they go 8 and 9 this year, that's a huge step forward because they've been going 4 and 12, and at least 8 is better than 4. And even Bengals fans know that, you're doubling your win total there. So
showing off that Wright State math, I see. There you go.
Absolutely. That's that comm degree coming in handy. So really quick, I want to touch on Zach Taylor because I think I'm a fan of both Cincinnati teams, the Reds and the Bengals. I think Zach Taylor and David Bell have a lot more in common than people think. I think David Bell is a better manager / coach than Zach Taylor is a coach of the Bengals, but I think they both have very similar roles and very similar kind of styles where they're both locker room guys that the players absolutely seem to love. Joe Burrow's always trying to defend Zach Taylor. But in the end of the day, you see with the Reds in September and you've seen with the Bengals in all 3 of those games so far this year, it's guys that the players seem to love and like playing for, but they end up making questionable decisions on the field. So it's almost like you have a ceiling with both Zach Taylor and David Bell.
For me, Zach Taylor is radio. As many years as I've been working in radio, that's kind of what you do. You learn on the job. And for his position in the NFL, where there's only 32 head coaching jobs, that job is very perfect. Because he knows if I don't win games, I could be out of a job very quickly. So he was trying his best, even though it was a detriment to the team. And behind him and everything like that, he's seeing like, okay, we have to run the ball. We can't just drop back a billion times and just try to throw the ball over a lot. So you are seeing a little rookie year, he was missing A.J. Green left and right, and now he's connecting on that long ball. Maybe it's that connection with the LSU receiver, Chase. Maybe that's going in the right direction the way people were expecting it to. But, I picked up on that. That long ball connection is dead. Can anybody hear me?
Yeah, it's a little spotty, but we'll get that figured out.
You're just popping in and out. Shea, is both of our mics like that? Was it just Kev's or we?
You sound good as of now, but it was just on that last little minute and a half. You sounded fine up until then. So
Kev just ducked out. I'll respond to that. Look, Zach Taylor, David Bell, I think David Bell knows more baseball than what he is letting be seen through his decisions that are being made. But as I think we could all piece together, I don't think he's able to make David Bell decisions. He has to make decisions based on the money and resources that the Reds put into that. I remember a few years ago, Shea, I think you were even there with us at the Reds media luncheon. Mm-hmm. It was in the middle of the rebuild, and they were talking about how all the money that was saved on players that they had shipped out and traded, they had a lot of money left over that everyone thinks that is just used for free agents, but a lot of that money is used to put scouts over in different countries. They put a lot of scouts in Japan and other parts of the world. And so that's what they were talking about. They put a lot of their money into scouting across the world. And then, of course, investing a lot of money into analytics, into a lot of the data technology that they have. So you don't invest millions of dollars into those things to then turn around and not use them. So I'm critical of David Bell, and I completely get that he is making decisions that are being forced upon him. But when he signed that dotted line to be the manager, he's responsible for everything that comes with that: wins, losses, individual performances, one-run losses, and everything along those lines. So that's where I'm critical of David Bell. I think he's capable of being a top manager in baseball. I just think that because there's other teams that money's not an issue. So when they invest into these, this technology, this, you look at these advanced analytics, when they do that, if they don't use them, they don't use them. That's fine. They have money all over the place. The Reds are a small market team. So if they invest into it, you're going to use it because they didn't invest all that money into that the data analytics technology to just ignore it and not use it. So I'll defend David Bell to a certain point there. Zach Taylor, David Bell deserves to be a manager in baseball as well. I wanted Joe Girardi, but I wasn't against David Bell. I just preferred Girardi. I'm against David Bell now based on his decision making. But I think he's more equipped to be a professional MLB manager than Zach Taylor was to be a head coach. However, if the Bengals keep winning and they fight for a playoff spot this year, who am I to say that he's not a good coach? Because all that matters is results. And my whole argument the last 2 years is the results haven't been there. So if the results are there, fine. I like part of me wants to see the Bengals struggle to the point where they do have to get a new coach, because I think they can get a really, really big name coach with the weapons they have. I threw out the name the other day, Sean Payton. There's no rumblings of that. He's still with the Saints. I think his time with New Orleans could come to an end, mainly because he's been there for so dang long. They're not where they, it's not like they're a Super Bowl caliber team. They're going to win some games. But I think if you're looking for it to hit the reset button, I'm looking at Cincinnati, and I see Joe Burrow and T. Higgins and Boyd and Jamar Chase and Mixon, and you see what they have on defense. I'm a Bengals hater, but I can't even deny that if you look at a Sean Payton or a big-name offensive coach out there, that they can't look at the Bengals and say, I can go win with that. So I think that there's better options out there. Winning and being average hurts the Bengals because it extends his shelf life. And I think what's best for the Bengals, honestly, is a new coach, but we shall see.
Well, I mean, we've seen, now over the last couple of years with Joe Burrow and with Jamar Chase and adding in, there's been all those rumblings where they're turning into LSU, the professional LSU Tigers. And the Carolina Panthers offensive coordinator, Joe Brady, was Joe Burrow's offensive coordinator in college at that national championship season. So that could be another route they go. But speaking of coaches, that'll be the little transition that we do heading into the Browns game this weekend against the Vikings. Kevin Stefanski has done an unbelievable job in his tenure in Cleveland. And I think that you mentioned it a couple weeks ago, Justin. One of the things that I've noticed is just how he's maximizing the talent of Baker Mayfield. Baker Mayfield doesn't have one of the 5 or 6 best arms in the NFL, but he is capable of making, throws and putting his team in position to win consistently. So these high efficiency throws that we're seeing from Baker Mayfield, high completion percentages, a very nice touchdown to interception ratio. I just think that Stefanski's putting all these players in the best position possible. Where does Kevin Stefanski fall for both of you on best coaches in the NFL right now?
Let's see if Kev's mic is working. Kev, you can answer first.
Yeah, I have a saying that coaching matters. And there's no doubt about it that he's one of the best coaches in the league, especially at game planning and going out there with scripted plays and everything like that. Like, he puts his players in the best position, and that player that is capitalizing the most off of that is Baker Mayfield, because he is the quarterback. People will point to, Nick Chubb getting that big contract in the offseason and basically them feeding him the rock. But we all know the quarterback gets paid the most money. And Baker Mayfield is about to cash in at the bank because Stefanski is going to continue to put him in the best positions to execute. The game plan on just looking at it like, oh, man, all they're doing is rolling them out and bootlegging. Well, if it was that easy, everybody would do it. You know what I'm saying? So you got to give Baker Mayfield a ton of credit from coming from not only high school, but at Texas Tech, where he was started as a freshman, to transfer to Oklahoma, where all 3 of those offenses were him in the shotgun, high-flying, scoring offenses, to even to his rookie year in the NFL and his second year in the NFL, it was supposed to be a high-flying offense for him to take a step back and embrace the new offense, embrace this situation where Stefanski's going to lean on the running game and be a play action type of offense. Look, man, I'm about winning. I'm about winning. Like, I don't care about like these crazy stats and QBR and all that. Look, man, the dude is winning games, and if it was that easy, the last 20 years, the Browns would have found a different quarterback to go ahead and plug in there. I think this is a great marriage. I think Baker Mayfield needs to be applauded for taking a step back, and this is a level of maturity for him. And also, Stefanski has an offense that he's not only made shine with Kirk Cousins, he's made it shine with what's the backup in Cleveland right now? Case Keenum. And now he's making it shine with Baker Mayfield. Look, man, the man knows what he's doing. Definitely offensively. We're going to see how this defense works out, even though he's not responsible for, well, he's the head coach. He's responsible for the whole kit and caboodle. But he's definitely responsible for that offense. This is his offense. And right now, Baker Mayfield and that offensive line is making it hum.
Mm.
Yeah, I think Cleveland right now, because I'm a homer, I think they're the Browns and the Rams. I'm not saying the Browns are playing the best in football, but I think when you look at all the top teams in football, you look at the Chiefs, one-dimensional, all offense, not a whole lot of defense. Their offense kind of kicking themselves a bit with a lot of turnovers. You look at the Packers, all offense, limited defense. You just continue going down the list. There's only two teams that I think are well-rounded on both sides of the ball, and that's the Rams, solid, great offense, great defense, and the Browns, very good, very, very good offense, very, very good defense. I can't say either side of the ball is great. I know that the run game is great, but Baker has played very serviceable. Look, he's above that. I can't put him in the top five as far as top five quarterbacks, but all he's doing is getting better. All he's doing is taking care of the ball. I know he has 2 interceptions on the season, 3 games in, what have you, but played really well against Chicago, who's a very good defense, and he was slinging the ball all over the place. I loved seeing that him and OBJ had a connection. I pointed this out last week. I still think that there's something to that whole OBJ Jarvis Landry pair. I don't think that they get in each other's way. I think it has a lot to do with how Baker kind of runs the offense. However, OBJ, that was the most comfortable I've seen him look in a Browns jersey since he arrived in Cleveland. And it's not a yes because him and Baker have more chemistry, but I think it's because Jarvis isn't there. Baker can look to OBJ, and that's his guy, and then everyone else falls in line. I think that Baker presses too hard when you have Jarvis and OBJ and everyone as a whole. That's a weird thing to say. Elite quarterbacks need to learn how to play with everybody. I mean, Burrow's having no problem getting the ball to Jamar Chase, getting the ball to T, getting the ball to Boyd. So Baker's going to have to work on that when Jarvis comes back, but I did like that. Baker's doing everything you're asking of him. The defense is going to gel as the season goes on. I don't think they're as good as what they were against the Bears, but they did, make Fields' life miserable. Mm-hmm. But they got to hopefully pick that up against the Vikings because Kirk Cousins is going to throw the ball. They have athletes all over the place. Thielen, talked about Justin Jefferson, and so on and so on. Cleveland has their work cut out for them. They have the Vikings coming up, and then after that, they have the Chargers, a very good quarterback in Justin Herbert. I think he's the next big thing in the NFL right now. So they have their work cut out for them. They also have the Cardinals, who are playing good football as well. Denver's in first place, and then Pittsburgh. There is no easy stretch for Cleveland right now. They're going to be challenged every week. They got to live up to the hype, though. No excuses. Yeah,
absolutely. And I'm glad you brought up that, they're one of the few teams in the NFL that have strengths on both sides of the ball, because I'm with you. I think that we saw what the Cleveland offense was capable of last year with Baker and Chubb and Hunter, obviously the best 1-2 punch in football. And then you have OBJ, you have Jarvis, you have Njoku, you have Austin Hooper, you have all these weapons. They went out and got a strong tackle in the draft in Jedrick Wills. But I love what they did on the defensive side of the ball this offseason, going out and getting John Johnson from the LA Rams, going out and getting Owusu Koromoa in the draft, who I think was a steal in the second round. They pair up Greg Newsome with Denzel Ward. They get Grant Delpit back from that injury last season in his rookie year. They get Jadeveon Clowney, who's not the first overall pick that he was, in 2014, but he has 2 sacks so far in 3 games. And if he's just going to be a third down pass rusher, you could do a lot worse than Jadeveon Clowney on the other side of Myles Garrett. So I think that the Browns just addressed their weaknesses, and as a Bengals fan that doesn't like to give credit to other teams in the division, it's a very good football team, and they are, without a doubt, I think, one of the 5 best in the NFL.
Let me quote my receiver, Juju Smith-Schuster. The Browns is the Browns. That's just a hater in me.
Yeah, no doubt about it. The Browns is the Browns. That's a top tier quote. So I'm going to pass the mic here to the Browns fan here really quick, and I'm going to ask for his insight. What is two questions? This is a two-parter here. One, what is the weakness of the Cleveland Browns right now in your eyes? If you could point at one, and then two, they looked strong against the Chiefs in Week 1. You mentioned that they're strong on both sides of the ball. What does this team have to do to get through teams like the Rams, like the Buffalo Bills, like the Chiefs when it gets to January and they got to come through in the playoffs?
They got to have the lead. I think they got to have the lead. I mean, I know that sounds funny, but the Browns are set up to win with the lead. Like if the best thing that could have happened for the Browns was to jump on the Chiefs the way that they did. Obviously, they didn't win that game, but jumping on the Chiefs, controlling the clock with the run game, Patrick Mahomes caught fire late, and that offense kind of torched the Browns' defense towards the back end of that game. But so Cleveland has to put a full 4 quarters together, and they've already proven they can hang with the top teams. But they got to beat the Chiefs. But to do that, it's going to be controlling the clock with the run game, complementing it with some big plays through the air from time to time with Baker and Jarvis, OBJ, and so on. But I love what I'm seeing from Kareem Hunt at the same time, because Kareem had about 60, 70 yards on the ground against the Bears and another 70 yards in the pass game. You complement that with Nick Chubb's power run style. They're just bruising teams. Chubb, it looks like, Chubb, he's only getting 1 or 2 yards, 2 or 3 yards here and there. And then by the fourth quarter, that's jumping into that 5, 6 yards, 7, 8 yards, because he's just bruising guys. He's just wearing them out as the game goes on. Mm-hmm. But to me, it's not getting away from their identity, which is that power run game, of course. But they're going to have the pass game's going to have to kind of excel each week. Baker's going to have to, prove that, hey, on times if we do run into a team that takes our run game away, that we could be, we can have another identity. We could be able to beat you through the air. They did that against the Ravens last year. I know they didn't win because they couldn't stop Lamar. The defense couldn't, but the defense of the Ravens couldn't stop Baker. And if Baker can go back to that like he was at the tail end of last year, I think Cleveland's offense will be one of the more unstoppable ones. But that offensive line has to continue protecting him like they have. But yeah, come playoff time, I think they're as good as any top team in football right now. But it's just going to come down to them shaking off the Browns as the Browns. Because sometimes I feel like reality kicks in these games, and it's like, oh crap, are the Browns going to screw this up? And we kind of sense that in Week 1 against the Chiefs.
Absolutely. Well, I do want to touch on a little bit of Buckeyes, but we'll save that for the end here. I appreciate your time. Of course, Justin Kinner, Kev Nash here with the co-hosts of the Justin Kinner Show, good enough to join us here on College Radio Day. But let's talk a little bit about both of you being WWSU alums, both of you being Wright State alums. What memories do you have of WWSU and that experience in college radio?
It was the best for me. It's kind of where I found my passion. A quick story, and I highly suggest no one ever do this. You probably go to jail or something like that. But it was I want to say my sophomore year, and there was a big, huge ice storm where they canceled school, they canceled classes and everything like that. So a couple of buddies and myself, we were just in the dorms doing nothing all day, and then we had the bright idea, like, let's go to the radio station. And just have a party at the radio station. And that's exactly what we did. We had a party in the station. We were calling everybody. People were calling in, having parties in their dorm room, and we provided the soundtrack to that. And that's just really sparked my passion for radio and to be in this industry for as long as I've been into it. Just imagine, you're just, as a kid in college, playing around thinking this is just fun and games, and then ultimately it becomes a career path for yourself. So, it's just those small things like that and those small memories that you take with you into your career. And on rough days where, there's a ton of proposals to write and there's a ton of production to do, you got to harpen back on the real reason why you got into it, because you loved it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And that's a good point, too. I mean, if you go to school, and I'm not comparing radio to being a doctor by any means, even though I was in school for 8 years, but there's not many areas of focus career-wise that you literally have everything you need in front of you to work on your craft while in college. For instance, you want to be a doctor, you can't just walk into a building and start operating on people to get better, right? Like you're at the mercy of the criteria of the course to go along that long journey, right? If you want to be a teacher, you can't just walk into a random classroom of kids and, hey, I'm going to practice teaching. It just, you're at the mercy of the limits of the criteria and of that set program you're in. With WWSU student radio, why people don't get more involved in that is beyond me, because it's so hands-on, And there were so many things, like I cringe when I go back and listen to some of my WWSU stuff, but if it wasn't for WWSU, there's no base to work on. There's nothing for you to work on. If people want to go to school for 4 years, 5, 6 years, and then start applying for radio jobs, and you don't have any on-air experience, and like with all due respect to podcasts, there's a much different cadence to hosting a podcast and running one versus running a live radio show, dealing with phone calls, social media interaction, hitting commercial breaks, and eventually I'll get to that. I'll get better at that. Ask Kev, but. I just think that the student radio opportunity that everyone I know that works in radio right now was involved in some kind of student radio in some kind of capacity. And I think that that's so important. I think that speaks volumes about what WWSU does, because it wasn't so much the degree that I got that helped me get this job. It was the experience of that radio station that you're sitting in now. It was cracking that mic live, interacting with callers live, hosting a show live, making mistakes live, interviewing players, coaches live. We did shows on the road. There used to be a bar around the corner called the Right Wing, over there on the corner, I think, of Colonel Glenn and I don't remember. Point is we used to do shows live from there. Jim Brown, former Wright State coach, now does color commentary for him. He'd come out and do the show with us. Trina Merriweather, Abby Jump, Kim Demings. I remember they came out one time from the women's team and did the show with us. We had some men's players out there. It was a blast. There's so many things that I was able to work on that I was watching this radio station do that I knew I can't get better at that because I don't have an opportunity to do that. But I took that opportunity from WWSU and ran with it. We mimicked everything we were watching. Your uncle, Shea, Mark Neal, he was my boss when I first started. But we were mimicking stuff that I was watching him do, doing the show every day. His show was Dayton Sports Scene. I had to give my show a name. I'm like, well, just like you, Shea, it was going to be Wright State centric. So it was a Raider sports scene. So, everything was just what I was watching here at Wing. I was like, well, the best way to learn how to do that is to actually do it and do it on the mic and do it live, do it out on location, and then doing the play-by-play stuff, getting to call games at Rupp Arena and, sitting alongside Paul Keels on Radio Row and calling a game at Ohio State when Wright State played at Ohio State years ago when they had Russell. How cool was that? I mean, that was pretty dang neat. So those experiences will always be fun to me, but the number one experience I had, my favorite memory, Kev shared partying at the radio station illegally. I have another bad message for kids.
Yeah.
I have another bad message for everybody. So everyone asked every time I have to do like a career day or something, so how did you get into radio? How did you get your opportunity at Wing? I said, honestly, you're not going to like it, but skipping class is how I got my opportunity at Wing. Hooper, the Hoop, I remember one day it was during finals week and I was just doing play-by-play stuff for Wright State. I hadn't even, started a show yet or anything, or I had started the show. I hadn't got to the point where I was with Wing yet. And I'm sitting there. I had a final. I skipped the final because I didn't skip a final. I was prepping for a final. I skipped my class that week, the last class before final, to study and all that stuff. So I'm in the office, and that's when Hooper had come in to say, hey, that Mark Neal from Wing was looking for some help at WING. I wanted to know if anyone would be interested, and I jumped on it, and I've never looked back since. So if I would have done the right thing by going to class, I wouldn't be here today, most likely, because it's all about right place, right time.
Yeah.
This industry's tough because there's really talented people that don't have jobs. It's all about luck and being in the right place at the right time. I'd like to think I do a good job and I'm pretty talented, but there's a lot of talented people that don't have jobs, and it's a very tough field to get into. So I'm very fortunate, but I would not be here if it wasn't for WWSU, so I do know that much. Even the degree, getting a degree from Wright State's great, but even if I had the degree and no WWSU, I wouldn't be here either, because it's all about the experience, cracking the mic, networking, meeting people. That's really what it comes down to.
Absolutely. That should be our new slogan, WWSU, the official station of doing borderline illegal things and skipping class.
There you go. What were you going to say?
And to piggyback on what Justin said, once people get their foot in the door after college radio and you get into like mainstream radio, once you get your foot in that door, keep your foot in that door, because it is so hard to get back in, because I know so many people have started in radio and then, life happens and, they have to get higher paying jobs or something or whatever, and they leave and, they're working a job that they really don't want to, and that passion for radio is still there. And when they try to get back into radio, like that door is just somebody else taking that spot, and it takes them forever to get back in. So it's kind of almost like starting over from scratch. And that's something you definitely don't want to do in radio, is start over from scratch if you already have years invested into, your craft and everything like that. So, yeah, that's just something to think about.
Yeah, and Shea, you're a prime example. Like, you're doing exactly what we did. You're doing a lot of the little stuff. I mean, I remember my last 2 years at Wright State, I had 4 different jobs. I worked at a factory. It was Alley Industries, a sandpaper factory. I was working for the athletics department, calling all volleyball and women's basketball games. I was the sports director of WWSU. And I worked for the Guardian. So I had 4 things going all at and then here, so 5. The WING is a board op for your uncle's show. So I put a lot of miles on my car. I mean, there was little to no sleep, stressed, tired, exhausted, but having the time of my life. And it's panned. I mean, if I didn't do all those little things, it wouldn't have led to, me getting what I really wanted out of it. So it's like, you got to do all the small things, but I watch you and you're doing it too. You're doing so many little things. Hell, you help Kevin and I out so much like you wouldn't believe over here. So we appreciate the work you do here too, and it's really cool watching the work you're doing at WWSU.
Well, I do appreciate that. And I mean, I think I agree with both of you. I think not just in my case, but what I've seen with a lot of people here, that really one of the coolest parts of being here for multiple years is seeing people that come in and they're whether they're just introverted, or whether they just don't have that self-confidence, or they don't know if they are going to like it or not. And then you see 2-3 years down the road, they're doing weekly shows. They want to be in media, in journalism, past college. I think that's really cool, where you see not just a professional side of them come out, but you also see, a growth in confidence, a growth in preparation, a growth in just kind of understanding the day-to-day stuff that you need to succeed in a position like this. So, really quick, if you, let's hypothetical, if somebody's on the fence about joining a college radio station, whether it's WWSU or somewhere else, what would be, one piece of advice or one word of wisdom you'd offer?
Oh man, for me is go for it. Like you talked about, when people are introverted and shy, and that was that coming out of high school and everything like that. I played sports and everything like that. I had my crew of friends that I hung out with. But when I got to Wright State, I knew absolutely nobody at all. And if it wasn't for the radio station, if it wasn't for me basically getting lost at Wright State and me running into somebody that was from Cleveland, that's where I'm originally from, I would have known where I was at. I wouldn't know anybody at that time. Like, that's how I met all my friends that I still have to this day. So, anything in life, or especially in college, give it a shot. You never know where it's going to lead you in life. Maybe even if you're not going to go into the media field, anything like that, or radio or whatever, it's still a cool place to meet people and to do cool things. Because let's be clear, man, college is great. College is important. The education part is important. But the biggest thing that I took away from college is time management and growth in myself. And if you just sit in your dorm room all day and you strictly just go to class and back to your room, you're not going to grow as a person. You're just going to be stuck in your shell. So the ability to meet people, and when you're working at a radio station, especially a college radio station, you get everybody. You get every different genre of music, because everybody has their own taste and a different style of music and a different style of the way they want to execute their show. Obviously, everything that's going on there with the sports and everything like that, you're going to get a little bit of everything. When you work in like commercial radio, fortunately here at Alpha Media, we have 5 different radio stations, so I was able to meet a lot of different people. But a lot of radio stations across the country, they're like solo based. Like, you'll only work in a hip hop station, you'll only work for a country station. We have a lot of overlap here at our building, so we're very fortunate that. But there's a lot of people that go to different markets who like, I don't even go on that side of the building. I don't even go upstairs. I'll just stay on my floor the entire time. So going into college radio, you get to experience different things, and you definitely get to experience different people. So I encourage everybody to get involved.
Yeah, I remember when I had dropped out of school for a while because I didn't know what I wanted to do. Moved back to Dayton to go to the main campus, and then a buddy of mine was like, "Why don't you work? You like sports. Why don't you call the Ohio State? The Wright State's playing at Ohio State this year. You should see about joining the broadcast team for WWSU." Sparked my interest, and then that's where it led to talking about a chance to host your own show, and then became the sports director. But I know I was as obnoxious and loud and as talkative as I am right now, I was not like that in high school. I didn't do a lot of talking in high school. In fact, when I see people from high school now, everyone's like, wait, you're doing radio? And then my favorite part is the quiet, shy dude from high school. They see me being a big old jerk on the air every day from 3 to 6. They're like, that's Kinner? Like, what in the world? So, like, for everyone out there has the same thought process I did. Sounds like Kev did too, where it's like, no, I can't do that. I can't do that. I can't do that. There's something real cool and special about when you sit down and crank that mic and it's live. That mic, it sounds so corny, but man, it just brings something out in you. It gives you a new identity. You get to be something that you want to be on that mic, and especially if you can push the right buttons and it works. It's a fun ride, man. So yeah, if you're out there and you're thinking, oh, that's not me, I promise you, most people you talk to at WWSU or any radio station, they all probably thought, oh, that's not me, that's not me. I definitely thought that. If you talk to 18-year-old me right now, I wouldn't believe you. If 32-year-old me is talking to 18-year-old me, telling me what I did, I wouldn't believe it, because that's how crazy it is what I'm doing. It does not match what my personality was coming out of high school. So you can't limit yourself to that. Like, you got to give it a shot. And if it doesn't work, you're not out anything, but definitely give it a shot, because there's some fun opportunities there when they come.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much, both of you, for your time. Justin Kinner, Kev Nash. Really quick on the way out, Buckeyes are in New Jersey this weekend taking on Rutgers. Give me a quick score pick.
Buckeyes 38, Rutgers 24.
Okay.
45-17 Ohio State.
All right. I like it. Well, thank you again, both of you. Thank you so much for your time, and I'm sure we'll talk soon, but thank you so much for taking the time out of your day.
Yeah, I'm about to text you. I need some help here at the station.
Hey,
all right. Sounds good.
You're fired.
No, it's not.
Telling me over a WebEx call. Yikes.
Yep. I'll tell you all that to say, yeah, goodbye. No,
it's not working out.
Thanks, Shay, for having us.
Yeah, absolutely.
Appreciate
we'll
it.
talk soon. See ya. All right. Well, we're going to continue the show here with giving our NFL picks on here to end the show. But again, appreciate Justin Kinner, Kev Nash for their time here today. We still have about 25 minutes left here on this show. Appreciate you hanging out with us. And that was awesome. That was really, really fun. So we're going to end it giving NFL picks here for week 4. Just have some fun with it. So let's start off with the Thursday night game against the Jacksonville Jaguars and the Cincinnati Bengals. I'm a Bengals fan. I mean, I know that this is going to sound like me being a homer. I get that. But I do think that the Bengals pull this one off. I just think they have more talent. They have more weapons. The Jaguars have not done a good job at using James Robinson as well as I think they could this year. They do have DJ Chark. They do have Laviska Shenault. I like a few of their receivers. Trevor Lawrence, though, has thrown 9 interceptions so far on the year. It's been tough. And I think the Bengals get the job done at home. Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase are in sync right now. Tyler Boyd, I think, has a strong game. I'm going to go with the Cincinnati Bengals in this one, 27-13 over the Jacksonville Jaguars. Let's move on to Sunday. The Titans and the Jets. The New York Jets are 0-4 in games following shutout losses since the 2014 season. This Jets football team does not look very good right now. Tennessee Titans, I think, have a big day out of Derrick Henry. I think Ryan Tannehill takes care of the ball, doesn't commit a lot of turnovers. I like the Titans this one pretty easily. I'm going to go with it 31-10 Titans over the Jets. Again, if you're just now joining, this is College Radio Day here on WWSU. We appreciate you hanging out with us throughout the course of the day. We got still about another 5 hours left here in our 17-hour radiothon. This has been a blast. I've had a lot of fun here today. I hope you have as well. And I hope you take away just how fun of an experience college radio can be. I, just like Kevin, Justin said earlier on in the program, I was just like them. I thought this is not for me. I am way too shy. I am way too introverted, way too antisocial to be anything in media, a writer, a journalist, a talk show host, a broadcaster. I gave it a shot, and I have not looked back. It's been the time of my life. And I think if you're on the fence about it, it'll be the time of your life too. I think you'll find out just how great this experience can be. So I really, really appreciate their time, and I'm glad that we have very similar viewpoints in that regard. It's been an absolute blast here today. Thank you so much for hanging out with us. Like I said, let's move on to the Chiefs and the Eagles at Lincoln Financial Field in Philadelphia. The Chiefs are allowing 31.7 points per game this year. The defense has not been strong. There's no doubt about that. The defense has not been strong. But I do think they bounce back against the Eagles. The Eagles do not have great receivers. Jalen Hurts, I don't think is terrible, but I don't like the idea of my best receivers being Jalen Reagor, Greg Ward, Devontae Smith, who I still think is learning to adapt to the NFL level. I just don't think Philadelphia is in a good spot right now. So I'm going to go with the Chiefs. I think they come in ready to play, and I think they get a bounce-back win 38-17 over the Philadelphia Eagles. Panthers and Cowboys. This one should be a really good game. I'm excited for this one. I think this is one of the sneaky good games of the week in Dallas, Texas. The Panthers are 3-0, and that sounds a little weird, right? Christian McCaffrey's hurt. Sam Darnold's their quarterback. J.C. Horn, their first-round pick, out with a broken foot. It sounds a little weird that the Carolina Panthers are 3-0, but their defense has been elite so far this season. They've allowed 14 points or fewer in all 3 games so far this year, and they go head-to-head with one of the best offensive teams in the NFL, the Dallas Cowboys. Dak Prescott is one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL. I don't care if you hate the Cowboys. I don't like the Cowboys either, but Dak Prescott is one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL. Ezekiel Elliott, not the same player he was 5 years ago, but he's still a solid running back, and then their receivers are nasty in Dallas. You have CeeDee Lamb, Amari Cooper, Michael Gallup, at tight end, Blake Jarwin. It's a really good football team. And they did a great job addressing their defense is still not great, but it's way better than what it was a few years ago. Trayvon Diggs has emerged as a top-tier cornerback option. Leighton Vander Esch, Jalen Smith, 2 of the best players on that defense. The linebacker core is the strength of that defense. So what do? They go out and get Micah Parsons. Micah Parsons has been a stud so far in Dallas. And then you have Demarcus Lawrence on the defensive line, who's hurt right now. But when he plays, Demarcus Lawrence is a game-changing pass rusher. This Cowboys team is really, really good. I think they are, without a doubt, the best team in the NFC East. I think they're capable of winning a playoff game this year. I do. I think the biggest weakness right now of the Dallas Cowboys is their head coach, Mike McCarthy. I think they're held back by their head coach. But I think the Cowboys and Panthers play a really good football game. I think this is the first time this year we see Sam Darnold struggle a little bit. I think the Panthers defense keeps it close. But in the end, I like the Cowboys in this one. I'm going Cowboys 28-20 over the Carolina Panthers. That'll be a good game, though. If you have Red Zone or you have NFL Sunday Ticket, highly recommend watching that Panthers-Cowboys game. That'll be a really fun one. Giants and Saints Sunday as well. The Giants come in 0-3, not looking very good on the year. The Saints 2-1, back in the Superdome. Jameis Winston is very hit or miss. I don't know how I feel about Jameis on a week-to-week basis, really, because I don't know how Jameis feels about Jameis on a week-to-week basis. But I do think that the Saints are the better football team than the New York Giants. The Giants just don't have the receiving talent that I think they need to be successful. Kenny Golladay was a nice add, but Sterling Shepard, as well as Evan Ingram, as well as Darius Slayton, all have limitations, all have weaknesses to their game. And then Kadarius Toney, their first-round pick, hasn't even been utilized yet. You, listening at home right now, have more yards in the NFL than Kadarius Toney. He has 2 catches for -2 yards. So congratulations. You, as of right now, 3 weeks into his career, are a better NFL wide receiver than Kadarius Toney. Good job. I think the Saints win this game, though. I think the Superdome has a great atmosphere. I think the Saints take care of business. Alvin Kamara has a nice day. And I like the Saints in this one, 31-20 over the New York Giants. Moving along to through the 1 o'clock slate, the Browns and Vikings. We talked about it a little earlier with Justin and Kev. I think the Browns are just a really good football team. Kareem Hunt, Nick Chubb, Baker Mayfield is making great decisions on the season. OBJ is back. Austin Hooper and David Njoku, a nice duo at tight end. The defense has looked much improved this year. The Vikings have won 5 of their last 6 against the Cleveland Browns, but I don't think that continues. I think Cleveland is on a mission. to prove that they're one of the 3 best teams in the NFL, and I think they get it done this week. I like the Browns in this one, 28-24 over the Minnesota Vikings. Lions and Bears, a battle of really, really uninspiring football teams. Justin Fields, maybe getting another start. Andy Dalton, maybe. Nick Foles, even in that conversation right now in Chicago. We'll see what happens. But that Bears team, great defense, very, very, very poor offense. And the Lions just aren't very good, but I did like what I saw from the Lions a little bit on Sunday against the Baltimore Ravens. I thought they played a pretty good football game in that one. They obviously struggled in the first half offensively, but I think they did a great job of forcing the Baltimore Ravens to play Detroit-style football. And it took a 66-yard record-breaking field goal from Justin Tucker for the Ravens to pull that game out. I'm taking the Lions to win this game in Chicago. I'm going with the Detroit Lions, and maybe that's going to end up being a freezing cold take here in a few days. But I'm going with the Detroit Lions in this one by a score of 21-17. The Texans and the Bills. The Texans are not good. You got to feel for Tyrod Taylor a little bit, right? I mean, every single place this guy's gone to, he struggles. He struggles to keep his position, where he went to Cleveland and lost the job to Baker Mayfield. He went to Los Angeles and lost the job to Justin Herbert because a team doctor punctured his lung. He went to Houston and strained his hamstring, and now they're starting rookie quarterback Davis Mills. Davis Mills did not look great last week, but there is potential there. There's talent there. There's no doubt about it. He was a third-round pick. Buffalo is going to win this game easily. In New York, are you kidding me? No, it's not happening. Bills win this one 38-14. This is going to be a blowout. Colts and Dolphins. Carson Wentz tries to snap a 7-start losing streak on Sunday in Miami at Hard Rock Stadium against the Tua Tagovailoa-less Miami Dolphins. Dolphins take on, they'll be starting Jacoby Brissett. So, old friend going up against the Indianapolis Colts again. In Brissett. Brissett is a solid backup quarterback, but that's what he is, a backup quarterback. I think the Colts get off the schneid this week. Whatever that, I probably butchered that saying, but I think the Colts do get a win this week on the road in Miami. I think the Colts find a way to pull this one out, 31-24 over the Miami Dolphins. Final game of the 1 o'clock window, the Washington football team hit the road to Mercedes-Benz Stadium to take on the Atlanta Falcons. I don't know how I feel about the Falcons. And maybe you at home have a better opinion. I don't know. I think Atlanta has a chance to be pretty decent. But they just don't look very good, do they? Matt Ryan does not look like Matt Ryan. They have no running game. Kyle Pitts has not gotten going the way we thought he would. Calvin Ridley's a stud. This defense is hit or miss every single week. Younghoe Koo is maybe my favorite kicker in the NFL. Love that guy. Had him in fantasy 2 consecutive years. Dude does not miss. Absolute stud. Washington, Taylor Heineke. I see Taylor Heineke's frustrating for me in a completely different way. I see the talent in Taylor Heineke. I do. When I see how athletic he is. I see how good of an arm he has. I see the plays that he makes that not a lot of guys can make. But it's so inconsistent. You see so much good of Taylor Heineke, and then you see so much bad of Taylor Heineke. So I don't really know. But I'm going to give the edge to Washington for this game because of their defense. Jonathan Allen, Deron Payne, Chase Young, as well as, Montez Sweat, Terry McLaurin, Antonio Gibson. This Washington team, I think, finds a way to get it done in this one. I'm going to go. I think this one's one of the closer games of the week. I'm taking WFT 28-27. So let's move on to the 4 o'clock games. The Seahawks and the Niners at Levi's Stadium in Santa Clara. I think the Seahawks bounce back this week. I'm not going to waste a lot of time. Niners have a great defense. But Jimmy Garoppolo has a ceiling. Their top 3 running backs are all shaken up. They're starting Trey Sermon right now, who I think has talent, but they're hurt at running back. Why is an undrafted wide receiver getting more reps than Brandon Ayuk? That's what I'm wondering. Why is Brandon Ayuk not getting the reps that we thought Brandon Ayuk would get? So I'm going to go with the Seahawks in this one. I think they find a way to get it done. I think Russell Wilson has a big game. I think DK Metcalf has a big game for the Seattle Seahawks in this one. Seahawks win this one over the Niners. Final score, 31-27. Cardinals and Rams, battle of 3-0 teams in the NFC West. This one will be a good one. This one will be a really, really good one. I'm excited for this one right here. Matthew Stafford's playing the best ball of his career right now. Kyler Murray, MVP candidate without a doubt. The Cardinal defense looks pretty strong with Budda Baker, as well as Isaiah Simmons, as well as J.J. Watt, Chandler Jones, Byron Murphy. These are 2 really good football teams. I'm taking the Rams, though, at home in SoFi in L.A. Stafford continues his hot start. Rams win this football game 28-24 over the Cardinals. It'll be a good one. Steelers and Packers at Lambeau. Now, I'm a Bengals fan, so I know I'm going to have people tell me that I'm just bashing on the Steelers here, but you got to understand where I'm coming from. If TJ Watt plays, he won't be at 100%. There's a very good chance that Alex Highsmith and Stephon Tuitt don't play, period. Deontay Johnson, we don't know if he's going to play. Juju, we don't know if he's going to play. Najee Harris can't have 14 catches every single week. Big Ben is not 2015 Big Ben anymore. Packers find a way to get this one done. I think the Steelers do have a more impressive showing this week, but the Packers do find a way. 27-17 over the Pittsburgh Steelers. The Steelers dropped to 1-3. Ravens and Broncos. This one I'm excited for as well. Lamar Jackson, Teddy Bridgewater, a couple Louisville alum. Go head-to-head at Mile High in Denver, Colorado. This one will be a good one. The Denver Broncos are 3-0, but they got to prove it. They've beaten, the New York Giants, the New York Jets, and the Jacksonville Jaguars. Teddy Bridgewater is a very, very solid game-managing quarterback. But you know what you're getting out of Teddy Bridgewater. You're not expecting Teddy Bridgewater to throw for 400 yards and 4 touchdowns. The Broncos defense is going to have to step up, and with the injury to Jerry Jeudy, they're going to need a big game out of Cortland Sutton. They're going to need a big game out of that running back, out of that backfield, and they're going to need a big game out of Noah Fant. That being said, I think the Ravens do find a way to win this football game. I think it will be a good football game, but I'm taking the Baltimore Ravens 27-24 over the Denver Broncos. Let's go to Sunday Night Football. The Bucks and the Patriots. Brady makes his way back to Foxborough for the first time since signing that contract with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And there's a 99.9% chance that Tom Brady becomes the all-time leading passer in the history of the NFL in that game, back at Foxborough. That's a movie script, ain't it? That is a movie script. Very, very excited. Patriots, Mac Jones has had flashes of looking really good. He's had flashes of looking like a rookie. Their defense is solid, but my concern is, where are they going to get playmakers? They have Nelson Aguilar. They have Jonnu Smith. They have Hunter Henry. They have Damian Harris, who I like a lot out of the backfield. Is that enough to take down the Tampa Bay Buccaneers? I don't know. And I don't think so. I'm taking the Bucs in this football game 31-24. I think it's a good football game, but I think Tampa Bay is just more talented when it's all said and done. Raiders and Chargers on Monday Night Football. This one should be another really good one. Justin Herbert, like Justin Kenner said earlier in the program, looks like one of the next top studs in the NFL. Huge, big-time win against the Chiefs last week for the Chargers. They're now 2-1. They take on the 3-0 Las Vegas Raiders at SoFi. The Raiders, Derek Carr is playing some of the best football of his career. The defense looks strong. Darren Waller is one of the best tight ends in the NFL. I love Josh Jacobs if he can stay healthy. Henry Ruggs is a great deep threat. This Raiders football team is really solid. Really, really solid. I'm taking the Chargers, however, in this game. Home field advantage plays a large part. but I also think that it comes down to the Chargers secondary. I like the addition of Asante Samuel Jr. I like Joey Bosa down on the D line. Obviously, I think the Chargers have a slightly better defense than the Raiders, and I like Herbert's chances to be a difference maker more than I like Derek Carr's. So those are my NFL picks for Week 4. Again, appreciate Justin Kinner and Kev Nash for their time here today. It was an absolute blast. Really was. Absolute blast. Had a ton of fun talking Bengals, Browns, Buckeyes with them and their experiences here at WWSU and in college radio. So, College Radio Day continues. Coming up next, another very exciting show. It's the Fantasy Football Hour with Scotty Kramer. And then a little bit later, we have Katie and Vibes live in the studio from 9 to 1 to end College Radio Day with a bang. Very excited. Appreciate you hanging out with us here on our 17-hour radiothon right here on WWSU 106.9. Enjoy the rest of College Radio Day. We'll talk to you soon. Thank you for listening, and see you next time.